Well, we are going to have a nice sunrise this morning, I think. I've been watching it for about, I guess 20 minutes or so. And it's the type of sunrise that it might possibly make a nice time lapse. Now, maybe I am overdoing it with the sunrises in a model ship series. But you know, when they're so nice, I just can't help myself. Now, yesterday we were working on this ladder here, and we're going to continue on with that today. I was checking my comments this morning, and one of the viewers said something about check the book or something. I'll thunk the comment down so that you get it exactly the way he said it, because as I've said before, I don't always get it right, and I maybe misquote people. And the person that I'm misquoting is maybe a little bit on the irked side. So I don't want to be doing that. So that's why I thunk the comment down. And you'll probably notice sometimes they don't exactly match up with what I said. Okay, so where am I going here with this? Anyway, he was saying something about check the book, because I was talking about how there did not appear to be, at least I think this is what he was talking about. That it appeared that there was parts were missing, in other words, here, and they are. We got the davit, we've got the davit that we hang the ladder from. So we'll be able to rig something up, as I mentioned yesterday. But anyway, I did. I went I checked the online version of the book, and I found that on page 99. Now I haven't actually looked in the paperback, so I'm assuming that the numbers on the online version. By the way, Jim Steen, if you're listening, thanks for putting me onto that. That's really handy. I look in that online version more than I look on in the actual book. But anyway, it was 99 online, and I'm just going to check here. Yep, there it is. Page 99, figure F12. So what I'm going to do is I've already got my gantry thing rigged up here, and I'm going to take that camera and I know this is kind of makeshift and I can't do it. Anyway, I'm going to take that camera and I'm going to screw it on here and hang it on, and we're going to put on we may not need the macro lens. This is a pretty big figure here. And we'll get in nice and close, and we'll see if we can figure out from the drawing. Well, I did check for photographs. I found, I'm going to show you something else that was kind of interesting. Remember, where are they here? Pardon my boarding house reach. Okay. Remember we were working on these things? Well, I found a sort of a picture in the book this morning when I was going through all the pictures. Yeah, you can kind of see these were a lot bigger than I thought they were. I mean, these are pretty big. I'm guessing they must have been about 5 or 6 feet across. Okay. I'm sort of losing my train of thought here. I'm getting a lot of good suggestions out of Australia. I think Alex is in Australia. And and there's Mark down there, and then there's a few others that have been commenting. Here in North America, at least for me, and I apologize for this, I sort of have the feeling like we're the only ones that know anything. And then all of a sudden you find out there's, like there's Jason down in the UK, and there's Jason in New York City, and there's a few other people around the world that have been commenting and making suggestions, and Jim Steen is in Thailand. And there's people all around the world that are building these models, and they're giving me a lot of good suggestions, and I appreciate that. quite often I'll get a comment and somebody will say check the book, and what they really want to say is you know, hey, you stupid Canuck, wake up and check your book. And I keep forgetting about this thing. So yeah, a Canuck, by the way, is a Canadian. Like if you're an Aussie or an Australian, well, a Canuck is a Canadian. In fact, my dad had a little airplane, and it was a Canadian-built plane. Back in the 40s, Canada was big into building planes. And so were other people. But anyway, they had a little plane that was called a Fleet Canuck. I'll see if I can find a picture of it and dub it in later. In fact, I think I've got a movie that yeah, I'll find it and I'll show it to you. Now, I later did find that video, or I guess I should say, well, I guess it's sort of a video. It's an old 16mm movie that my dad took. And yeah, you'll see here the Fleet Canuck. And I've slowed it down considerably here, so that this very, very short clip that Dad took will sort of fit into my monologue here. But you'll notice a fellow steadying the wing. He's got hanging onto a rope there to keep the plane from rocking. Well, that's Uncle Frank. And yeah, that's sort of a sad story. I did a video called Uncle Frank's Watch, and I told the story in that. Anyway, notice in that plane there's a little kid sitting in the back seat, or sitting in somewhere in it. Actually, I don't think it had a back seat. That plane was a side-by-side. Anyway, yeah, that was me. Okay, let's get on with the model ship here. I have a tendency to really get off the subject, don't I? So let's get this thing set up here, and or as I say, recomposed. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but that's what I call it. We were recomposed. Get ourselves, yeah, I got myself composed. Yeah, that's right. Doesn't mean you're gonna, you know, produce some sort of a symphony or something. It just means getting set up. So let's get recomposed here and see if we can look at this drawing, and I think you'll see that it's going to kind of give us an idea. It'll show us that, yeah, we're going to be able to do something with this thing after we get it stuck on the ship, so that it's hanging down from the davit and it's going to look right. My goodness, Ron, shut up and get at it. Okay, what I'm doing here is I'm using a piece of glass here. This is a piece of glass that used to be in the storm door. And when I got a new storm door, I saved the old glass. They were just going to throw the door out. And I've used it for this sort of thing quite a bit since. I'm really glad I saved it. Anyway, the idea of this piece of glass will be to hold this down nice and flat. It'll just make it a little bit more easy to focus the entire area at the same time. So here we are on page 99, figure F12. I will focus in on it. I just want to get it positioned first. Yeah, we're not going to need the macro lens. Okay, I'll find focus, and then we'll take a nice close look at this thing here. Okay, I think we probably are composed about as good as we can get here, and I think it's about as clear as I can get it. Normally I stop my lenses right down to f22 for depth of field, but in this case I don't need depth of field because the plane that I'm focusing at is flat and pretty much parallel to the what we used to call the film plane. In other words, to the sensor. And so F10 there, it's a little sharper than F22, negligibly more sharper, but just anyway, I think I've got it as good as I can get it here. So let's use Mr. T's poking device, and you can see the davit up here, at least the way it's drawn here, and you can see that there's sort of on the bottom here, where we're going to be fastening it onto the bottom of the stringer. It's just sort of I believe I can probably use, I suppose I could extrude some plastic, but I think I'll just use easy line and just have it come up from the bottom of the ladder up to the davit, and I think that's probably going to be fairly believable. Now this drawing here is looking straight down on it. Once again, you can see the V-shaped where it comes up, and you have it on the end of each stringer, and then, well, I don't need to explain everything, do I? Apparently, I seem to feel that I do, and I do that way too much. But anyway, yeah. So this is the drawing on page 99, figure F12. Yeah. So Alex, thanks for suggesting that. Yeah. Okay, I almost forgot here. Now, remember we were talking about these things? Well, here it is. I'll move in a little bit on it. Now, when you see this this thing in comparison with the life rafts and so on, you realize that flotation device was quite large. I'm guessing about maybe 6 feet across or a couple of meters. You know what? I guess we could measure the little plastic part and multiply it by 200, and then we'd have it, wouldn't we? Just for the fun of it. Maybe I'll do that later. Anyway, as far as I know, that's probably one of the rare photos that actually shows that thing. Okay, we've beat this to death, haven't we? Let's get on with it. Okay, we're going to do this metric. Okay, I'm not squeezing very tight there, but we've got 7.93 millimeters. Seven 0.93 times 200 equals, okay, so that's 1.586 meters. So yeah, so it'd be what, about 5 feet? So these things in reality were pretty good size. They were a lot bigger than I was envisioning, something about the size of a life ring, but actually they were a lot bigger than that. Okay, let's see if we can do a little bit of soldering now. Okay. Now, yesterday, when I was trying to solder this up and the solder just was not flowing into the joint that I wanted to solder up, I sort of knew what I was doing wrong, but I had thought that the way I was doing it, it might work anyway. But what I should have done, and that's what I'm going to do now, is I'm going to put a little tiny dollop of solder on the joint here. Then I'm going to take the soldering iron and touch the brass and allow the heat to travel up to the dollop of, I call it a dollop, that's, up to the solder, and melt the solder, and it should draw it into the joint. I mean, that should work. So let's just sort of recompose, and we'll put on the macro lens and move right in. Now I know that people are suggesting, why don't you put it on the end of a toothpick? But then what happens is it sticks on the end of the toothpick. Either that or I'm just plain stubborn. Alright, we got it. Okay, now our iron here is at 350 degrees. And the plan is to heat the metal maybe I have to come from underneath. Let me check the monitor. Am I still in frame or have I moved it? I'm wondering if maybe 350 is not enough. Well, I sort of cheated there, didn't I? Well, the solder did run down into the hinge, so that's a pretty. That's all right. And I think once we paint that, it'll be okay. Okay, we're looking at it from the other side now. I flipped this thing over. At first I thought that it hadn't flowed all the way through, and I just wanted to double check, but I can see that it did, and you can see where the hinge is actually soldered shut, closed, or in other words, it's not going to flop around. Now, just for perspective here. Okay, at this very moment, my computer is trying to process this morning's sunrise. And it's got approximately just under 2 hours of it. And what I'm doing is I'm time-lapsing it down into just under 2 minutes. It may or may not work. I don't know yet. I haven't. It's still working on it. So we won't know until the end of this episode. If it's there, you'll know it worked. If it's not there, you'll know it didn't work out. What I'm planning to do here is do this last ladder off camera, probably later this afternoon, in a much more relaxed atmosphere. And it'll probably go quite well. That's usually what happens. Oh, one interesting thing. Remember I was talking about I did not know why we have two number 33s and I think the other one was 32s. Well, when I was trying to find these things just a few minutes ago, I remembered that last night I dreamt why it was we have extras. And at the time it was sort of like, oh, well now it all makes sense. Problem is I can't remember what my dream was. Now wouldn't it be funny if later on in the manual we come to a reason why we have extras of the 33s, an extra one, and then I remember, oh yeah, that was in my dream. Now I don't think that will happen because I don't believe in that kind of stuff. But anyway, I'm just going to go ahead here and work on this other one. In the meantime, folks, thanks for watching, everybody. And all being well, we'll be seeing you tomorrow.